Are you ready to challenge yourself and think bigger? I'm your host, Marianne Marchesi, and together we'll hear the unfiltered, unscripted stories of those who've taken big risks and transformed their bold ideas into reality. Season 2 is brought to you by multi-award-winning law firm Legalite, where bold ideas thrive. Colleen Callander left school at 16 with just a summer job at a retail store. What followed was 30 years in fashion retail, 13 of them as CEO of two of Australia's most iconic brands, Sportsgirl and Sussan, where she became one of the most decorated female executives in the country. In 2021, she was named one of the 10 most influential business leaders making a difference by World Leaders magazine. She's the author of 3 books, the founder of Mentor Me Women, and she's still building from there, speaking on stages around the world. Welcome, Colleen.
Oh, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. It's just wonderful to be here with you.
Well, it's all true. You left school at 16, no university or conventional career path, and you built one of the most remarkable executive careers. When you look back, what did you think that starting early and not following that traditional path gave you that maybe the traditional path wouldn't have?
Yeah, well, I look back now and think, wow, that was a little bit crazy of me at that time, right? But, I started on the shop floor when I was 16 years of age. I got my first casual job there and I absolutely love retail. I loved it from the minute I walked through the door. And I worked in my parents' businesses from a young little, girl. But this was a real job and it was in the fashion industry. Well, that's what I told myself, right? It was just at my local Just Jean store in Geelong, but I absolutely loved it. And I worked all summer. And then at the end of the summer break, the area manager said, "Hey, Cole, you've done a great job. Do you want to stay on with the team?" And that was like, wow. She said to me, "I think you've got potential." And, for a young 16-year-old girl, for this big boss to say, "I think you've got potential," I was pretty excited. Yeah. So I told my parents I wasn't finishing school.
How did they
I had that very tough conversation, or they had a tough conversation with me. I'm not sure which way it went. But, they are incredible humans, both of my parents. And the words my father said to me was, "Work hard, be passionate, love what you do and never give up." And that became my mantra for life. So I took that into my world and the way I lived my life and the way I wanted to show up. And, I look back now and for me it was really lucky. It was that very sliding door moment for me where it could have gone either way. They could have put their foot down and said, absolutely not. Yeah. But they believed in me and they knew that I was passionate and whatever I was going to put my hand to, I was going to work hard at it. And I did that and I rose through the ranks. But I also say, Marianne, different horses for different courses. Sometimes finishing school and that traditional route is what people want. And for me, it just wasn't the path I wanted to take. And, it served me pretty well in the long run.
It's pretty incredible that you could identify that at age 16. Like I had no idea what I was doing at age 16. But not just that, to actually take that plunge and that leap at an age where you're taking yourself out of school, so you're taking yourself out of social circles. And was that part of your thought process when you were making that decision? Like, did you turn your mind to it's not just school, it's also, those social circles and things as well?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think I thought about it at all. I just thought, this is what I want to do. I love fashion. I love retail. I really believe in this path forward. And I didn't know that I'd end up as the CEO of 2 iconic fashion brands. I never stepped on the shop floor at 17 years of age as a full-time sales assistant thinking I'd be a CEO. I was just really passionate about what I did and I was really passionate about people. But it was an interesting, no one's actually asked me that question. It's quite interesting because I went in one direction and all of my friends went in another direction. And so, a lot of people say I have all of these friends from, school. I don't have that these days because I went in a very different direction. But your different direction, brings you to new people and new experiences. And so for me that, I loved that.
Yeah, and it shaped your path. And I think it makes sense that you had such strong conviction at that age that you did land in a CEO role. Like it makes perfect sense.
Yes, yeah.
16-year-old with that much conviction, it makes sense. And then 13 years leading Sportsgirl and Sussan. That's obviously quite a long time to be at the helm of iconic brands in one of probably one of the most competitive industries, I would say.
Mm.
And you did it by putting people and culture at the very center. What were other leaders in retail, do you think, not getting quite right that you could see from where you were sitting?
Well, I think the first thing, if we sort of wind back to my earlier days in retail and leadership and going through the ranks, it was a very different era of leadership and one that I didn't like and one that I didn't like seeing and one that I didn't agree with. And it was very much in those early days, treat them mean, keep them keen, work hard, make them feel like if they don't do a good enough job that their job's at risk. That was very much that old era of leadership that I was seeing as I went through. And I decided very early on in my career that that wasn't for me. And I think, Marianne, I was very lucky. I had and still have two incredible parents. One who, my father's Italian, so he's very hardworking and, very straight down the line. And I have this mother who's gorgeous, one of 12 children and a beautiful nurturer. And so I think I was very lucky to sort of, I always say everything for me started in the home. So I was very lucky to sort of witness both of those sort of different styles of people and personalities. So when I went into this world of retail and it wasn't like that, I really decided that I wanted to be the leader that I wanted to be. I wanted to be the leader that I wanted to have. And I definitely wanted to be a leader that people chose to follow. And that was always what I set out to do. And really for me, I think when I look back on it now, I don't even know I didn't know I was doing it at the time. I just wanted to create a place where people wanted to show up to, where they felt safe, where they felt part of something bigger than themselves. And when you create those kind of environments, magic happens. Amazing things happen and people do amazing things.
And I think you've touched on a couple of things there, but something that really stood out to me is you didn't realize what you were doing, but you were being authentic to yourself, and that's how that translated over. And I think a lot of leaders sometimes fall into the trap of trying to fit into a box of what leadership should be rather than thinking about, well, who am I as a leader, and how can I be authentic to that and authentic to myself and bring that to my work? Because the second thing that came to mind is that people can't be what they can't see. And you just set such a fantastic example for, the next generation coming up, that it doesn't have to be that really aggressive way of leadership that, as you said, was so prevalent, in the 90s and 2000s and has only changed because of people like you. So
thank you
I really
so
commend
much.
you for that. You've always led with kindness, that self-awareness, qualities, as you've touched on, that, the corporate world has historically seen as soft. And if you've had those qualities, it's kind of been treated as like a nice to have. So how did you remain authentic to yourself when there was such a strong, and is still sometimes such a strong narrative telling us not to be?
You're so right. And I think people associate the word kindness with weakness. And that's what particularly females have been sort of drummed into them or drilled into them over the years. And I actually turned that word into something very different. I turned it into a superpower. And it is one of my values. And I'm very, very strong on my values. And it's the way I live, lead and love is with kindness. And I still do that today. But I very much made that the center of my universe when I was a CEO. And some people say, really? How could you run, two very big organizations, successful organizations with kindness? And I said very, very easily, because to me, kindness is very different to what people think. For me, kindness is setting very clear expectations for people. Kindness is being honest and giving honest feedback. It's holding people accountable. It's building true human connection. And when you create environments like that, again, you create this circle of safety for people and people will do amazing things, because kindness means I'm there to support you. And it also means I'm there to pick you up when you fall over.
Yeah.
And you are going to fall over. We all fall over. And you want leaders around you that are going to support you, not throw you under the bus. And so for me, it just worked. And the more I did it, whether it was consciously or not, the more I did it, the more success I had and the more incredible teams I could create. And as a CEO, you are only one person. But what being a CEO is really about is creating environments for people to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the key difference is kindness can challenge people, whereas niceness is probably bordering more on that, soft quality. And I think a lot of people confuse the two, nice and kind, as the same thing, and they're not. They're not the same thing. In your view, what do you see as the difference between being nice and being kind?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think being nice is very sort of surface level, quite superficial, where I think being kind comes from a very deep, beautiful place.
Yeah.
And when you are, you use the word authentic, and authenticity is another one of my values. When you do kindness with authenticity, that's where it becomes really quite magical and quite beautiful and quite real. And I think it's quite a special place.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so fantastic that, again, that you've set that example for, the people that worked with you and that look to you as a role model. And then you resigned from Sportsgirl in March 2020 when we were just being plunged into lockdown. I'm sure you didn't plan it for a global pandemic. How did that change your plans?
Oh, I didn't at all. But, I also kind of think someone upstairs was looking after me in that moment, because for me, I had this 30-year incredible career that I was so proud of. I had 20 years in the Sportsgirl Sussan group, and I'd always decided at my 20-year milestone it was time to write the next chapter. And I write my life in decades, and I was just about to turn 50. So it was that next chapter for me. What did that next 10 years look like, and what impact did I want to make? And as you said, I finished and COVID hit, and I felt really bad because I'd left a whole team of people behind that were struggling. But I also felt really good about taking some time out.
Yeah.
I really wanted to have a year off. That didn't quite happen because COVID hit, and I wrote my first book in COVID, which is a perfect time to write a book.
Yeah.
I started Mentor Me Women, and my children came home from boarding school. So that was lovely because they couldn't escape me. They had to be with me every day. They had to have dinner with me. They had to do puzzles with me. But it was, for me, one of those really beautiful times that actually the universe told us to stop. And so that was really quite nice. But being honest, I was just going into that year, taking a year off and having a bit of a reset. And really, whether I became a CEO again, whether I got on boards, whether I really didn't have the full plan worked out. But sometimes that's nice as well, because I think the universe already has the plan worked out for us. But it was really lovely, and I was very fortunate that I did really find or not find my purpose, because I knew my purpose, but I was allowed to live my purpose on a much deeper level than I'd ever lived it before.
Oh, wow. That's really powerful. In addition to being your host, I'm also the founder of Legalite. If you're looking for a law firm that can work with your bold ideas, not against them, you can join the movement for better legals at www.legalite.com.au or follow us on Instagram at legalite_au. And you launched Mentor Me Women around the same time, and you were so conscious about making sure that it was accessible. And back then, and I think even now, coaching and mentoring can be very inaccessible for a lot of women because of the cost barrier. Were you seeing that? And is that why, accessibility and affordability was such a key founding principle for Mentor Me Women?
Yes, I think I worked that out as I started to go along. I started Mentor Me Women because women were locked down. A lot of the women were calling me, people I knew, people I'd never heard from in my life, but people were really struggling, and particularly women. They were really struggling being locked down, working from home, all the children at home of all different ages. And I had women ringing me saying, I really don't like my boss anymore. I'm locked down and I'm not being treated the way I think I should be treated, or I really thought I liked my husband, but now I'm locked down with him 24/7. Maybe I don't. I had all of these women ringing me for all these different reasons. And I thought, I don't have the time to talk to every single one of these women or that are emailing me or calling. Why don't I start a mentoring group? So I did that in COVID. I had hundreds of women come through the program, which was fabulous. But then what I really realized that women found it really hard to find mentors. And we know coaches. I've had a coach through my executive life and they're very expensive.
Yeah.
They're great if you can afford them, but not everyone can afford them. And I realized that as I was running the program. So I really wanted to make Mentor Me a place where women could come. Women supporting women, not just me, but women supporting women, because I think that's really where the power happens, but really making it affordable and accessible. And I still today have women sending me messages saying, I just found something in my drawer that I did when we were doing Mentor Me Women and it changed my life. So when people say that to you, it's pretty empowering.
Absolutely. Are you still running Mentor Me Women?
I do. I only run a couple of times a year now, and for public, and then I take it into organisations, whether it be women's networks or organisations for women. So yes, I still run the program today, not as often as I did.
Well, you've got so much on your plate.
Yes, but I love it. It's a real passion project for me.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I think COVID was such a good time to introduce that because a lot of women, myself included, were really like craving that connection as well, not just the mentoring and coaching, but as you said, women supporting women and that connection and community is, I think it was just so highlighted during COVID how important that was to us. So I think that's universe really delivered on you being in the right place at the right time to introduce that. And as someone who's spent over a decade in the corporate leadership structure at its highest levels really, and now you're operating outside of it, what do you think organisations are still getting wrong about how they treat their people and develop their people?
I think they really miss the mark that people are the centre of their entire business. And we've seen and I've seen over the years what happens when you have great people in an organisation. And then I've also seen what happens when you have toxic people or not so great people in an organisation. So for me, I've always thought about people, purpose, passion equals profit, not the other way around.
Love that.
And I've always, a lot of organisations start with the conversation, let's talk about profit.
Yeah.
You go to an executive meeting and the first thing they'll do is pull the P&L out and start looking at the numbers. For me, that was never the starting place. Mine was people, purpose, passion. And you get those three things all working together and the profit comes. So I always tip things a little bit upside down and inside out. And I think it's the way my weird brain works, but it just works. So I think organizations need to be remembering that people are the heart of everything that they do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. My dad used to say something similar to me about doing what you love and the money will follow.
Yes.
It's the money comes after. And doing what you love, the passion comes first. And I think that's really unique that you were taking that kind of approach in corporate land because, as you said, it's not the default. Usually it's the P&L and the bottom line first. Yeah. Now you've got 3 books under your belt, including your latest, The Power of Confidence. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about that book and how did that come about?
I really love my latest book. I love all of them, but I'm very passionate about this one. When I wrote my first book in COVID, Leader by Design, one of the chapters was The Power of Confidence. So every chapter in there was the power of something, the power of kindness, the power of leadership, the power of confidence. And when I wrote that first book, they were the 3 chapters that I just absolutely adored. And The Power of Confidence was one that I wanted to put so much more in, but I didn't have enough pages that I could put that in because I had so many things I wanted to talk about in that first book. So I always decided back then that I was going to write another book or a couple of books and there was going to be one called The Power of Confidence. And if I sort of circle back on why, I think going through not just leadership, but life. I've seen so many women struggle with confidence and particularly the industry that I was in and it holds women back. They play small. They shut their voice down. They fear actually showing up. And so seeing that through years of experience and working with so many women, I thought maybe this book can help someone. And if it helps one person, one woman, then that's brilliant. So the whole book is really based around overcoming self-doubt, stepping into your power, really changing your story, because we really hold stories in our head that self-sabotage us and hold us back. And so for this book, I really want women to step into their power and realize their incredible uniqueness and what they have to offer the world. But we can only do that when we're living, leading and loving with confidence.
Yeah. Why do you think women struggle more with that self-doubt and the stories that we tell ourselves?
Women do suffer a lot more than men, and I think that we are much more, and not, I wouldn't say conscientious, but I think we're more conscious about what people think about us. Are we being validated? Are we pleasing people? And so that really can hold women back. And particularly when women are going through life changes, whether it's motherhood, whether it's in your career, you know, having a change in your career, whether it's menopause, whatever it might be, that really knocks our confidence. So I really want this book to support not only women, because this is a book for all ages and stages, but I really want this to be a book that helps women really overcome that self-doubt and really believe in themselves, because every single human on this planet has something incredible to offer. And particularly those beautiful women out there and the beautiful women listening to your podcast. And I really want them to be able to show up every day as the best version of themselves.
Yeah, I think that's so needed, so needed. And I think that a lot of women tend to struggle with the confidence because of the, as you said, if they're going through significant life changes like motherhood or perimenopause or menopause, society and workplaces aren't really structured to support that. And that can really shake women's confidence when, for example, when they're returning to work after having children. So I think if you can give them, as you are, practical tools to develop and build their confidence despite what's going on around us externally, because those things will always be there, is so needed, and not enough people are talking about that. So I think that's really great that you're providing these practical tools through your book and also through your mentoring program.
Thank you. And I think women think, you know, I've just lost my confidence and I'm never getting it back. And that's actually not true. We can go through life and have ups and downs with our confidence.
Absolutely.
And as you said, you know, when those life changes happen, we can have our confidence knocked. So I want women to know that confidence isn't something you either have or you don't. It changes as you go through life. And it is like a muscle. You know, I talk about it as doing the confidence reps. We can't think about going to the gym and think I'm going to be healthy and fit and get strong. You actually have to put in the work. And confidence is actually the same. You have to do the reps, and that is speaking up, overcoming self-doubt, believing in yourself. And once you start doing that on a regular basis, your confidence starts to lift and you can do amazing things.
That's really cool. It's like that exposure. And I think, as you said, it's like a muscle, and building that muscle. That's been very true for me. There was a time probably about 15 years ago now, I was bullied in a previous workplace, and that really shook my confidence in terms of practicing as a lawyer. Now, I mean, 15 years later, I'm a different person, and I have so much confidence in my own abilities, but knowing that something can shake it and you can still build it again, you know, I think that can give a lot of people some hope. What do you hope the book will achieve?
I hope it changes people's lives. I really do. I hope it helps them change their story, because when we change our story, we change our life. I hope it allows them to have the willingness to try, because confidence is actually the willingness to try. Because when we try something new, we succeed, fail, or somewhere in between. But what happens when we try something new is that we learn, we grow, we build competency, and we build confidence. And so I want this book to allow people to say, wow, that one thing I've been wanting to do, wanting to try, wanting to have the conversation about, maybe today I have the confidence to do that. And that one thing might be the thing that changes their life. So I really hope that people enjoy the book. I hope that I've written it quite differently this time. It's 12 chapters. And then there's a 30-day confidence transformation in there.
Oh, cool.
So I didn't want it just to be a book that, you know, we all love reading books, right? You read it and you put it on the shelf and you don't revisit it again. I want this to be a book where I'm sitting next to them on the couch, that I'm there holding their hand, that I'm telling them it's okay. And so the 30-day transformation is something that they can do every single day to build confidence, because it is like a habit. It's like doing the reps, as I said. And often people think we've got to make big sweeping changes in our lives to have an impact. And confidence isn't like that. It's actually the little changes that we do every single day and we build on that actually builds that confidence muscle.
For sure. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think confidence is such a big part in bringing your bold idea to life, but I'd love to hear from you as well. What's one piece of advice you've got for someone who has a bold idea?
Just do it.
Yeah.
Like, what is the worst thing that can happen? You are not jumping out of a plane without a parachute, right? That's not going to end well. But what is the worst thing that can happen if you try your bold idea? And that could just be, as I said, that could just be the thing that changes your life, that one idea. And, Marianne, there's going to be people in life that are going to tell us that our ideas are crazy, they're too bold, someone's done it before you, you're never going to succeed. And I'm going to tell them the opposite to that. I'm going to say, have a go, because you are never going to know what is possible. People talk about the word impossible. Well, I think that's I'm possible, not impossible. And every single human is possible. But it does take stepping into that one bold idea to actually see what you can truly do and what you're really made of and how amazing you really are.
Yeah, I think that is such fantastic advice. And you are living proof of that, taking a very big, bold step at the age of 16, and look how that turned out. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I am so excited for the listener to take away so much from this episode and hopefully buy your book.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for creating this beautiful place for people to share and for people to bring their bold ideas and encourage people to take bold ideas, because that is what will change this world, is those bold ideas.
I agree. Thank you so much, Colleen.
Thank you.
If you loved what you heard, make sure you follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. Or even better, leave us a review. And if you have a bold idea of your own, I'd love to hear from you. Check out the show notes to get in touch.